think it might be on the upper right to, I think if you select the video panel and minimize the distance. To make this bigger, like full screen?
To make the text bigger.
Okay. Oh,
Jack figured it out, but now I can't remember what it is because I didn't take notes. So
could be Control Plus or the zoom in on the middle there.
I don't know. Tell me about it. I can't figure it out.
That you could see that far.
I can't do it from
Huh?
whatever it is. I cannot do it from here.
Right, that's right. He'd have to get up.
I don't know. I can't do it from here. You would have to do it there because you're presenting.
I don't think so. I didn't do anything last time.
This is already maximized.
But I can't figure it out
Next time.
because it's full screen on my screen, so I don't know. This is just to distract me from having to start.
I can help you if you'd like.
No,
Okay. Okay.
I'm over it. So over it. So there we go. So sorry if you can't read it, but I'm too selfish to figure it out. Okay, so let's take a moment and be happy that we're here and it's actually raining. We kind of need rain. So that's, a plus. So just think about all the things you can rejoice about right this moment. The fact that you're still breathing, that's a good start. Can't do much if you're not breathing. You're well enough to be here. There are others here. And that at this moment, we can be 100% certain that there are countless actions of kindness happening all around the world. We can be 100% certain of that in every moment. And just think how amazing that is. And bring to mind the reason you decided to show up today. And set an intention to use this time well with respect to that reason. Hey, Marianne. You didn't hear me. I'm sorry.
Pouring out there.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
Your luck was not shared. So
In case you didn't know.
So we were just rejoicing that we were getting rain.
Mhm.
Okay, so now let's recite the four immeasurables to expand our motivation for being here, to really understand that working on our minds, working on our hearts, working to reduce our own suffering has the great benefit of benefiting everyone. This is the way in which we can, develop the skill to become Buddhas in order to be able to actually lead others to that state. So it's very important work. But we need to have great compassion, which means universal compassion, universal love. That we feel this way for everyone, not just people, but even, creepy crawlers, my personal favorite, snakes. So, may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Oops, that's not it. And the refuge prayer. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Nirvana. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, May I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So this is what, Palm Sunday?
Yes.
What is the meaning of Palm Sunday? Anybody know, remember? And so I know I remember the palm branches.
Is it when Jesus was being led to the cross and
I
they
think so.
threw palms in his path?
I think that could be it.
Sounds
It's been a while since I was Catholic.
So, so Good Friday is what?
The day he died.
The day he died. Interesting choice of phrases there. And then next Sunday is Easter, and that's when he rises from the dead.
Yeah.
So. I find this Christian confidence in, Jesus Christ. I mean, I can't think of a better example of bodhicitta for great compassion and great love for all sentient beings than that action, or at least the legend of that, whatever. But this idea that somebody be willing to die a hideous, hideous death in order to purify the sins of everyone else, because his teacher, you could say, told him to, like phenomenal. I mean, it's just like, it's really an amazing thing. So this is our capacity, what we would call Buddha nature. That's our capacity to say, I'll take this on. I would rather take this on to end the suffering for all others than, have all others take on a portion of the suffering. So it's pretty remarkable. And that, so it doesn't have anything to say with how the teachings are, or the differences in the teachings, although I think most religious traditions teach pretty much the same values in terms of how we should behave, how we should speak, how we should treat each other, which is, somehow to me, it supports this idea there must be an element of truth in it, that if spiritual leaders around time have taught this particular message of care and concern for others, for treating others as, as you'd like to be treated, that kind of thing, not to kill, not to steal, all the 10 Commandments, which I get them confused with the 10 non-virtues, but they're very, very similar. So, and it's all about sort of respecting and protecting the needs of others. So like we talk about 10 non-virtues, being, don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, but you can also look at them from the point of view of what they protect. So, don't kill is protecting the lives of others, because all of us don't want to lose our life. It's part of the deal. Don't steal. That's protecting the belongings of others. Don't lie. That's protecting the knowledge of others. That's protecting the And generally you have to think about what's the motive behind a lie. You're trying to deceive someone about something. Come on in, Cindy. Uh, so then we have no harsh speech. So that's that idea that we need to protect people from our negative energy. Negative speech in particular, obviously. No divisive speech. We're not supposed to try to separate people that have harmony. So if someone's harmonious with someone else, we're supposed to protect that harmony. Where are we now? No sexual misconduct. Obviously, that's protecting the relationships of others. What else do we not do?
Covet?
I'm sorry?
Covet? I'm trying
Covet.
to think.
Yeah, covetousness is a mental non-virtue, and it's protecting everyone sort of from our greed. Because covetousness includes this, it goes beyond just wishing you had that belongs to someone else. It's wanting to take it. That you will seek methods to take it. But in the mind, what drives that is that just covetousness. It's envy, it's greed, it's this, I should have that, not you. So, and then malice, is that, mental idea of having ill will towards others. So that protects people, again, from our harmful thoughts. So this gets back again to when we were talking about how all our positive qualities develop through our care for others. That none of those things would matter if it wasn't about protecting others. So this idea of community, His Holiness said that when we're trying to develop contentment, we need to really develop affection for all sentient beings. From the big view, don't panic. You don't have to. So it's affection. What is affection? Okay, somebody look it up. Yep.
I think it starts with respecting other people's opinions, because if I don't respect, I cannot relate to them.
Okay, so respecting other people's opinions is part of affection.
It's part of a process that helps me to have affection.
Okay, good enough.
Genuinely caring for someone and wishing them the best.
What is it contingent upon?
It shouldn't be contingent upon anything.
Right. Nothing. It's not contingent upon anything. Your affection is just out of this.
A bond.
Well, it's yes. So the way His Holiness explains it, or actually it's Lama Tsongkhapa who explains it, who's the major textbook writer in this tradition from the 1300s. He said that, how we talk about self and other, that they're like, just a point of view. I'm a self, but I'm not yourself. You're the other. And then I'm your other, near and far. tall and short, all these relative terms. And self and other is exactly the same. So Lama Tsongkhapa said, to be aware of self is to be aware of other. And to be aware of other is to be aware of self. Self and other can only exist relative to each other. What is the deeper meaning of that?
They're not separate, it's interdependent.
Yeah, we're interdependent. It's not, like the only reason you can, go, oh, me, is because you're thinking, oh, you. So it can be a negative habit in the sense of always focusing on the separateness, or it can be a very positive habit if you're thinking about how coexistence is dependent on it. That it's these labels don't matter at all. It's just that we are part of community, period. End of sentence. It's not something you could avoid. There is a need for others to survive. The only need for a self to survive is just simply because, you don't exist if there's no, if there's nothing to put a label on. So, it's whereas other is the important part. We think taking care of self is so important. It's the priority. And self is not meant to be just me. It's also including that circle of concern we have of mine, my family, my friends, my group, that kind of thing. Yeah.
To be compassionate toward others, you have to be okay, right?
It helps to have self-compassion as well. You don't have to be okay. You need to recognize that you suffer too. We have to understand our own suffering to understand that, and everybody's in the same boat. No one's exempt.
So is that exchanging yourself with others?
Equalizing and exchanging ourselves with others. So I was thinking about those, no kings, protests, those kind of things. And every person I've ever asked, well, how was the experience of being there? They've all said, oh, there was such a strong sense of community. There was such a nice vibe. There's such a nice that we need to learn from that. That we need to help community thrive. And we need to go that extra step and not think it just has to be about my community, the people I agree with, the people that, da, 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 da. We need to understand that humanity is a big group with lots of different opinions. Doesn't mean we have to support everybody's point of view. We just need to be able to listen to everybody's point of view. And we need to listen with the ears of compassion. We need to listen from the perspective of this is a human being just like me who is struggling to be happy and wants to avoid suffering at all costs and has a particular opinion about how to do that, just like I do. But we need to listen, with ears of knowing true suffering. We need to approach it from the perspective of what the Buddha taught us, and that is the truth of suffering. And then everybody is trying to avoid it. And we can look at some actions and go, clearly, you're off. Don't know what you're doing because that's not going to do it. We forget to look at our own actions that are doing the same thing, only perhaps in a less, obvious way. Hi, Nana, is this your family?
Yes. It's my part of my Portuguese family. Hi, Venerable Tendron.
Wonderful. Hello. Good to meet you.
I there's someone else is missing, but she's with her bag. She's eating.
Okay.
Okay, so now it's a full family here.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you, Venerable. Sorry for interrupting. Muting
That's
now.
all right. It's a good reason. That's pretty cool.
Okay.
So we just need to be able to extend our affection that we have for so many people outward and not put a limit on it, and understand that, people that we like don't share the point of view with, we want to be able to include them in our circle so we can come to some sort of understanding that can benefit both, you know. And that takes a lot of presence, a lot of stepping back and not grasping at your own view so tightly, and try to listen for what's trying to, what this person is trying to protect, what this person's trying to avoid, what this person's trying to, cultivate. So so we're on the same page, at least discussing solutions to those things. That because we probably all have the same things we're trying to protect. We're all trying to avoid suffering. We want happiness for all the people we love because we have partisanship, bias.
Partisanship.
Thanks. So. And so the people who are held a different point of view from us, or what we feel is an opposing point of view, have the same needs. So it's just they see it from a different angle. That doesn't mean we have to accept other people's point of view as correct or something. It's about learning how to listen to each other. And it's a lot easier to do when you come from a place of affection, of a feeling that this is part of the human race. Because we allow our anger to get in the way of that. We allow our attachment to our own view to get in the way of that. We allow our fear to get in the way of that. And that's why we need some confidence. We need some inner confidence on our inner wisdom so that we do not have to beat someone into believing the same way we do. Have you ever heard your own voice get a little ratcheted up a notch because you really want to convince someone that you're right and they're wrong? That's a clue that you don't have 100% confidence in your point of view. And you want to, it's like and sometimes that's from fear, that if everybody didn't agree with me, the world will continue to be a mess. Not going to argue with that. The world's always been a mess. So it's this, the more we can be confident, just say, in our point of view, and that does not mean grasping. That just means that you feel like you've gone through all the reasoning and you feel pretty certain that your conclusion is well considered, in the right direction. But it also means you're open to hearing something new that may present a kind of different take on it, or at least a different solution if there's a an issue involved, you know. And that requires us to be okay with that. You know, when we're grasping at our view, we're not okay when someone disagrees with it. We sort of can't believe it. How can anybody think that way? You know, it's like really amazing. So, but if you're comfortable with your point of view, I'm not saying you'll ever understand why somebody has a different point of view. What we need to understand is where their point of view is coming from. It's not so different from ours. They're trying to be safe. They're trying to whatever, make sure their kids are okay, make sure the future for their kids is okay, blah, 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 blah. It's just no different. Graciela, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, you mentioned that we develop confidence about our inner wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
but that you said we let fear get in the way of that.
Mm-mm. Fear gets in the way.
Of
If we don't have that inner confidence,
getting the confidence.
the fear can become the prominent thing when we're having a discussion. You know, if we're confident, then we don't need other people to validate our opinion. Does that make sense? And that's, you know, and so we need to have that so that we can, you know, understand that this, you know, conversations are not likely to change someone's mind in that moment. And that, you know, we have to not be attached to an outcome of the conversation. One of the things His Holiness says is that, I think it's His Holiness, it is the doing of the action that brings joy, not the result. That it, you know, we are very goal oriented, and we think there has to be a change or a result. And we can't value, or we can, this is a bad habit to say the word can't, but sometimes we mistake the desire for a particular outcome as somehow more important than our ability to listen to each other. But our ability to listen to each other is part of community. Our ability to have affection for other people who also want to protect their lives, their family, their, you know, blah, 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 you know, makes sense to you. You know, what doesn't make sense is, you know, the way they think that should come about. You know, that's different. Have you ever had an opinion that at some point you realize, oh, that was wrong? It was just wrong. I was wrong about that, you know, blah, blah, blah.
My wife would remind me that I was wrong well before I figured it out.
Because she was wise. Yeah.
I'm having a hard time reconciling being confident in things and then also being open to listening to others' differences. And I think it depends on what you're being confident in, perhaps.
You're confident in your own point of view. Because you don't need someone else to agree with you in order to feel okay about yourself and your own opinion.
Right. But I feel that sometimes being too confident closes you off to having that affection.
That's
for
grasping at your point of view.
others. Okay.
It's sort of like the difference between confidence and pride. Sort of an afflicted pride, thinking, you know, oh, I'm just right. And if you don't agree with me, you know, you're kind of not so bright. You know, whatever it is, whatever conclusion we draw. Yeah, Mark.
Something is very important to you. Is that grasping?
It can be. It can be a sign. It's one of those clues. Like when, you know, like when I always talk about being hooked, there's this little sensation I get that's kind of like not so comfortable. And so when something's really important to me, or I really want a particular outcome, that will arise if I don't think I'm going to get it. And so that's my clue that I want a particular result. And that's grasping at a view.
Is that attachment?
Yeah, that's attachment. Grasping, attachment, same thing.
Okay.
It's just a, you know, grasping is when you kind of let your attachment go even further, where you start to like get mad, you know, because now, you know, it's like the object of your attachment's a little further away. And that can be your view, getting your view approved, you know. Yeah.
So you really care about someone and you feel compassion and they are suffering. And sometimes, once in a while, I'll take that on, which does me no good and them.
I don't know what you mean by take that on.
Okay, I feel it. I feel bad when they're
Why?
feeling bad.
Do you feel bad when
It's
you
like
feel bad?
A fall.
That's despair. That's
Yeah.
thinking I should be able to fix this.
Okay.
And that's sort of afflicted pride.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, we can't fix everything. We can fix very little in our own minds, which we have a lot of control of. So, you know, we need to be really humble and be able to be with someone's suffering and not feel bad that we can't fix it. That's about you, not about them. You've shifted the audience, so to speak, in your head. You're no longer thinking about the suffering of others. You're thinking about the suffering of yourself because you're having to witness this suffering. You know, and so we really need to get clear, and it's hard to do it, but be able to go, okay, if I turn the camera back on myself, you know, and try to let that go, sort of back towards them. You know, if you take yourself out of the picture, you know.
Do you think that we're getting away too far from that right now?
The world's always been a mess. It's samsara.
But isn't it getting worse?
No,
You
it's
think
just
it's getting
bad. It's always bad.
It's always been this way.
Look at history.
You're right.
It's been pretty.
No, yeah, that's true. But, I mean, specifically here.
I'm sorry. Let's see. We committed genocide when we first got here. We, you know,
No, I mean, present day.
that's 200 years ago. How
No, I
present
mean-
do you want to be?
I mean, present day.
I can't judge the present day.
Huh.
Who am I?
I also think we might have the perception that things are worse because we have more availability of information.
Because
We have, like, the-
we have that.
We have the curse of
Not to
knowledge.
mention, we're in the picture. We're suffering now. We're not just reading a history book about somebody else's suffering. Now it's us. So it feels bigger
Mhm.
because we're in it. You know, we turn the spotlight back on us. You know, it's scary to me. You know, I mean, because I feel that. Yeah.
I'm troubled by something, and I apologize if I'm changing the subject.
Well, I'll try to get it back on it if I think it's going the wrong direction.
There's a new TV program on. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen commercials about people with bizarrely distorted bodies. And I'm grappling with, am I supposed to look at that person and think that's
Do you have to
karma?
even look at the commercial?
I'm sorry?
Do you even have to look at the commercial?
I'm trying to understand, am I supposed to believe that is karma playing out?
Well, there's karma playing out, but there's also the karma of the people who think that that makes an interesting TV show. There's,
Yeah.
you know,
The children in St. Louis Children's Research.
they're doing it for fundraising.
But are those children there because karma is playing out?
Yeah. Now, this is the difficult part of cause and effect. We have no trouble understanding that the result, the apple tree was caused by an apple seed. right? And then if the wind's not there and and then that seed might never even reach the soil or whatever, I don't know, I'm making this up as I go. And there's not enough water and there's not enough sun and there's not enough whatever you're supposed to do to grow apple tree, because I don't know, I don't garden. You know, we have no trouble understanding that if all the conditions aren't there, that even though you have this perfectly healthy seed, you still might not get an apple tree. Now, if the apple tree is there, then the conditions were there because we have a result. And that tree becomes a cause for other trees in the future because it's producing seeds and da 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 da, you know, and so on it goes. The Buddha said, from his wisdom of omniscience, which is a wisdom we can't particularly imagine at the moment, could follow the cause and effect for everything he experienced. And found that there was a definite pattern to it. That everything that he experienced that was pleasant was the result of some virtuous action he had done, or positive action. Every suffering that he experienced was the result of some negative action he did. Now, it has nothing to do with this life. The timeline is since beginningless time. So in some life, all the suffering that you've experienced in this life, in some prior life, it could be eons ago, it could be the last life, it could, be 27 years, prior to this, whatever. Some action that you did of body, speech, and mind planted a seed, so to speak, that met conditions in this life to ripen. And there are several different types. That's a whole course you'll have to study. So we experience the result that's similar to the cause. So like if we in some past life harmed others physically, I don't know, just a second, with swords or blah, 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 that can create the cause to have a body without complete faculties in a future life. Because you've harmed the bodies of others in past lives. And you haven't done anything to mitigate that. Okay. Does that mean you don't have compassion for people who are experiencing suffering now? Why? Why would it mean that? We'd mean that if we thought we never in the past did anything terrible. None of us are immune from that. We've all done it all. Horrible things. Do you need something, Randy? Just go. Don't sit there and have a conversation. This is the thing. So what we really need to see is suffering has a cause. Okay? And if we change those causes, quit creating those causes, that suffering cannot arise again. So take this example. Say you take a child who's been abused in this life, and they grow up to be an abuser. So that child is creating the cause to experience this again in the future, in some future life, because they've taken the experience in this life and just repeated it as an adult. Now, if that child grows up and isn't an abuser at all, and can maybe even have forgiveness to his parent that abused him, he's cut that. So now he's not creating that cause, and hopefully he's just exhausted that seed. Does that make sense? But it's not about blaming someone. That's the problem we make. We think, oh, we should blame the person who's suffering now. No. That child didn't do anything in this life. That's this idea of something like deserve and blame, must have deserved it. No, there's none of that. It's just cause and effect. Like if you're not paying attention, you're going up some stone steps, you can stub your toe. Did you do that on purpose? No. Although sometimes your parents will say, pay attention. Like you did it on purpose, but no. But it doesn't mean they're not hurting. No, it doesn't mean they're not hurting. They hurt. We just need to understand that, yes, you could say, no, that those children haven't created any cause in this life for this experience. It doesn't mean there was no cause for it. It's not random bad luck, which is the only other explanation.
So let's say you grow up on a ranch or something like that, and your family is big hunters, and you develop.
You do think that's an accident that you're born in that family?
That's a good question.
That's cause and effect.
Okay. So then you hunt, you kill animals.
So you're continuing that cause and effect.
So later on, you
get killed. You're a type, you're the prey in some future life.
At what point do you break the cycle? Can you break it in this lifetime? Like
all those children of hunters that decide they pick up a camera instead?
Yeah.
They're breaking that cycle.
Okay, good.
We can go ad nauseum over karma. And you don't have to buy it at all. I mean, that's not my job, is to make you to believe it. To me, it makes everything make sense. I'd much rather have the idea that there's cause and effect than the idea that we're randomly subject to all kinds of hideous suffering.
Is stopping carrying a gun and carrying a karma, is that enough to absolve your karma?
It's not about absolving. God, these words are terrible.
Sorry.
We just need to have the resolve to not keep that chain going.
Okay.
It's just like absolve. There's nobody up there absolving anybody. There's nobody redeeming. We have to change our minds and decide, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
It's kind of like that saying, like, a society grows great when the people plant trees whose shade they know they'll never sit in.
Yeah, whatever. That sounds great. Yes, we have to do things because, see, even that has an outcome. We need to do things just for the sake of, yes, one time I was flying over some state, and I saw all these little trees that were clearly going to be lining that street, and they won't see it. The people who planted all those trees, but their grandchildren will have this lovely tree-lined street, so it's just, but the idea is that it's the motivation we have when we do it.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about motivation, isn't that itself is an attachment?
No.
For you to practice this.
No, motivation is just motivation, intention is just what's turning your mind in a particular direction. Okay. Right. So we can make conscious motivations where we choose a motivation to direct our mind in a particular direction. Directing your mind to positive ways because you want to end suffering is just wisdom. The Buddha said, of course you want happiness.
Because my son, when he was really young, he told me, Mommy, there's no incentive nor punishment can make me do things other than what he wanted to do. So I said, Brian, then there's nothing I can bribe you to do good things. But he's a good kid with a great compassion.
Yeah, so he had maybe he just had that inner, and he'd already trained himself, that he didn't need to be other directed, but it's just, and you could also call it stubborn, but it's just we're not blank slates when we arrive in this life or the next life or the life after that. We have habits with us. But depending on what conditions, what's called completing conditions that ripen at the time of the next birth, our experiences might be vastly different from our previous life. So we don't have the opportunity to just easily continue on with certain habits because we're in completely different kinds of circumstances. Like if you've been a hunter, odds are good you're going to be born as the prey of something that hunts in the next life, maybe for a few lives if you were a very successful hunter, and so in those conditions, it's not much you can do to create positive things or work with your mind or anything. You're at the mercy of a lower, a less sophisticated brain.
Isn't that kind of the purpose, though, of like the
There's
practice
no
of the
purpose.
100-syllable prayer is to
That's purification.
Okay.
And that's about developing resolve. So what he's bringing up, which we were not discussing, is this idea that our negative actions, one of the ways to create the cause to not experience the suffering in the future from our past negative actions is that when we do them, we regret them. And then we make a resolve. We try to train our minds. I don't want to do that again. I see the harm it does, whether it's to someone else or to myself. I just don't even want to act that way. It's just, I don't approve. And then we have to make the resolve to not do it. And then there are practices that Tibetans have all sorts of practices you can do, but to remedy the situation. But all that's about is, it's like Lama Zopa Rinpoche said, you want to spend your rest of your life doing a purification practice every moment of the day, or do you want to quit doing the negative action in the first place? Yeah.
Have you ever read Many Lives, Many Masters?
I have not read it.
I read it.
So y'all like to have a discussion?
A book called Many Lives, Many Masters.
Is it Thubten children?
Yeah.
It's about reincarnation and a psychologist who studied someone. And what he talked about was how groups of souls tend to reincarnate together. And
what do you think that's about?
Because you haven't learned the lesson.
Oh. No one is. I don't know. I have heard of it. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's not clutter. I'm a Buddhist teacher in the Tibetan tradition. I don't know anything about someone else's ideas. Okay. And they're not relevant here. You can read them, help it inform you. You can believe them. You can do whatever you want with it. Okay. I'm not here to discuss that. I don't want to cloud the picture. Okay. Fair enough? Mm-hmm. All right. So, but I can't teach the entire path in this hour. So it's a little tricky. So, are you going to join in too?
No.
I would. I detect my impatience and go, back off here for a second. Okay. I'm going to chill for a second. This is a very difficult topic. It's very complex. And we have all sorts of ideas about things like redemption, absolving, deserving, guilt, blame, none of which are part of the Buddhist vocabulary. It's simply cause and effect. We don't have to gild it with anything else. And this is why we can end suffering. Because if we quit creating the cause for suffering, we won't suffer. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of what you're just saying now and intention, I guess earlier you were talking about we focus too much on the result and goals, but we want to train our minds, right? So that we could eradicate suffering. So that would be a result.
Yeah, but that's a very long-term goal. In the meantime, we need to do it. This is the thing. This is what's so interesting is even though, can I prove to you that karma is true? No, I cannot do that because it's not instant, But I do know that that my thinking, my speech, and my actions all impact my level of suffering or contentment right now. That's pretty instant. So, but going for this, like the trouble with wanting a particular result is it ends up being like, I need proof. And you're not going to get proof in that way. We have to want to do it because we've done enough reasoning about what's being advised to think, yeah, that might be true. I'm going to try that out with the way I'm thinking or the way I'm speaking or the way I'm being. Okay. Roy. Yeah. No.
Well, just, and you have brought up before, like all the people that are born in Gaza.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know, group karma may not be the right word, but they've all had.
Well, each of them created
They've had
the
an
end of
seed
ripen in this war zone.
for all them to be there, which might
Yeah.
be
It's probably different for each one of them, or it could be,
why they ended up there.
yeah, it could be because they were, they did the same thing to another group of people, centuries ago, and now it's their turn.
Are we to infer that when a parent gives birth to a child who has a terrible disease, it's the child's karma and the parent's karma?
Yes, it's both. The parent has the karma to either, to give birth to a child that doesn't have all their faculties, that could be because they harmed a child in some past life or something, or, whatever. But it could also be because they want to benefit someone like that. That the child also has a bad seed ripening in the sense of, having some physical ailment, and has the good seed ripen that they're in a place where there might be some help with that, and they're with a mother who's happy to help. So those can all be, completing karmas. This is why you can't judge. There's no point in judging. You can't possibly know what's going on, but it's not random. Where we're born, who we're born to, all of that are part of seeds, but we have gazillions. Think about this. 65 seeds have just been planted. 65 thoughts in a finger snap means 65 imprints on your mind stream. All of those are causes for some effect. So trying to sort that out is a bit difficult. So we can go down this rabbit hole forever. Or we can trust our own experience with seeing how we can create our own suffering and go, well, maybe it's just bigger than what I can see. And again, like every talk I think I seem to give, judging others is not the right response. It's never the right response to suffering. Nobody seeks suffering. Nobody says, I'm going to hit this child so I can have this experience in the future. No, they're doing it out of suffering, out of some distorted state of mind that happens to take it out on a child. All the Buddha said is that child received it because they too have done something similar in the past. And there's no judgment there. It's just cause and effect. Just planting seeds and getting a result. So if we want a different kind of result, we need to plant different seeds. And that takes learning.
If a woman is infertile.
Oh, geez. It's cause and effect. That's all I can say. You can buy it or not. There's nothing, there's no example you can give that I won't say the same response. It's exactly the same. Everything we experience, we created the cause for. Everything. And that's true of everybody in the room. Everybody. It's true of every ant on the planet, every mosquito, every snake, every puppy dog, all of it. That's why there's no point in asking individual questions because it's true for every single question. So it takes a lot of study. I mean, not to study like books, but to sit there and really think about cause and effect and look at the world around you and see, do I see it happening all the time? We see cause and effect all the time. We even see examples where it's just someone's speech, and we can say, oh, they think that's going to be helpful. Yeah, So we just get these little snapshots. We can't see this huge picture from life to life and all that, So until we develop strong concentration, yogis who develop that ability to keep their mind focused for as long as they want to, start to remember past lives because they're not distracted. Does it mean they can see all of them and be able to put all these pieces together? No. I say that the Buddha said that he didn't say about anything about a beginning because he could never find his own first life. This is the historical Buddha.
Now, just a question. You mentioned cause and effect, right? But what, if I understood correctly, the conditions would change the effect?
No. The conditions don't change the effect. The conditions determine what seeds ripen. Okay, so I think about my mom, who was an alcoholic, okay? And she never drank until she moved to New Orleans. If she'd never moved to New Orleans, it may just not have ripened in this life. You have to meet conditions as well. She was born to a family of teetotalers and nobody drank and there was no any access to alcohol, that seed wouldn't have ripened because the conditions aren't there. So it's the Tibetans who ended up being kicked out of their country or having their country they created the cause for that. They don't have any problem with that. They don't like the result, but it's like, it's like when you see it, I remember seeing a news thing where this Tibetan family their house had been robbed or burnt down or something. And he was just like, well, what's it effect? It's like we see it as judgment. It's not judgment. It's just what follows. But since we don't get to see life after life after life all at once, and no one can follow them, tick, tick, tick. So it's a lot to take in. And I think it's important to study, the whole path to be able to see where it fits and if you can accept it or not. I have a whole lot of trouble with the idea of a beginning. And somebody created, I don't know, whoever created the beginning, if that doesn't make any sense to me, nobody makes no sense to me either. I can't get my mind around all of that, so I don't worry about that. But I like the fact, the idea, the possibility that things are not random. I like the thought that they could make sense and that we can reason it out. And we can choose our actions based on our reasoning and then create the causes for a different kind of experience. I just like that. That may,
What I like is that human nature seems to follow the path of when you do something right or compassionate and you care about others, it feels good.
See, that's cause and effect. And that's what the Buddha said.
Yeah.
He said, we think we're chasing happiness by our accumulation of stuff, by our big success in the world, or blah, 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 blah. But it has absolutely nothing to do with it. We're actually chasing suffering. But it's exactly that. The joy is in the action, not in the result. And we need to chase that. Yes.
If we're living a life now that is pleasant,
you had a lot of good karma ripening.
Could we still get a kick in the pants
Yes.
from karma? And that's a shame.
Yeah, but that's cause and effect. That's why we shouldn't judge people, because you could be there in your very next life.
Oh, I got it.
Who said that?
I said.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, there's no point because it's not linear. It's not like, oh, I mean, look at your own life now. Have you learned every lesson? Is it all been this uphill thing? No, it's all over the place. You know, that's okay. Frustrating. It's the way it is. Development is a process. Takes a lot of time. So the kick in the butt is just, it's just that, oh, another seed of yours is what ripens in the future. Yep.
And you talked about all the religions and the commonalities. And the commonalities are human natures, right?
When you say their habit, what the Buddha says, though, we call it Buddha nature.
Right.
Another religion might call it, I don't know, spirit.
So that's why they all have the same, what you call values.
I think it's because they teach the same thing because they have that result.
Yes.
It's not,
That's
it's like, what His Holiness likes to say is, there are many different dispositions of mind, and enlightened beings know that. And they will teach whatever fits those minds to get us there. So of course, there are lots of different religions. Mm-hmm. Of course, there are lots of, because they're trying to get us in the right direction.
Now you see, that is not random to me.
Yeah, it's not random at all.
That we've talked about in terms of, and you've talked about in terms of human. That's satisfying enough to me as not randomness.
Well, and all the Buddha said is that every moment where we cultivate our Buddha nature is going to result in a good way. And every moment that we chase the things that are grasping at this self, oh, I need to take care of me, nobody else will, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff leads to things like greed and selfishness and disregard, indifference to what happens to someone else because we need this right now, kind of thing. I don't know. We can't fix samsara, cyclic existence. We can only fix our own minds, be liberated from cyclic existence, and then help others do the same. Samsara is the nature of suffering. Just think about it, birth and death. What does that mean? Loss, and loss again, and loss again, and loss again. It's the nature of suffering. Yeah.
John said in the chat, the hardest topic for many religions is why children suffer.
Yeah. Yep. And we just say that children are just they're just continuing their life. Their consciousness has always existed. Our consciousnesses have always existed. I can't answer all your questions. I'm so sorry. Your name is
Linda.
You're the one who emails me questions. Yes. Okay. And some courses you need. Relentless. It's relentless. No, it's good. It's good to have questions, but I need others.
I wanted to apologize for bringing up this book, but I think what I wanted to get at is what it expresses is you're going to come back unless you learn this lesson. But for you, is the lesson like following the past? I guess I'm trying to think.
You're trying to learn what actually leads you out of suffering.
Okay.
And we learn the lessons or we don't. Yeah, you could say you can interpret it that way, that we're born in these situations because we keep not learning those lessons. Yeah. Because the lessons in and of themselves don't teach it.
Don't teach the past?
No. We need somebody who knows how to use those lessons to get out. Because our grasping at a self, our ignorance about how things exist, tend to lead us towards drawing some wrong conclusions about what to do. Like you get hurt by someone, you hate them. Maybe you don't hurt them back because, blah, blah, blah. But we think it's justifiable to actually respond with anger and hate instead of thinking, maybe I was a cause for this. That's, we don't think that way. This is the thing. So we need teachers. We need someone who's managed to get themselves out of suffering or find peace and contentment to help us connect the dots. That's all. So yeah, you can certainly interpret it that we keep being born in the same conditions because we keep creating the same causes. And you can look at that as lessons, but no one's up there directing things. It's just cause and effect. We have to be careful when we keep looking for a controller of all this. Our minds are the controller of all this. It is
I'm sorry, this is my last one. We have so much work to do, so many lessons to learn, and so many ways that we need to work with our mind on this earth in our time. I don't really understand the usefulness with what we have to do here, terribly important. I don't understand the usefulness of the cause and effect with reincarnation.
Well, because our causes and effects, it's not useful, it just is. First of all, we need to get over this idea that somebody set it up a purpose to all this. No, there's no purpose of all this.
Yeah.
The Buddha said the purpose is to avoid suffering and be happy.
Yeah.
But you don't know what you're doing.
Wow.
Let me give you a lesson on that. That's basically all it is. This purpose, it's like we think that everything in the physical universe has a purpose. No, it's just cause and effect.
Well, that's my point, I guess.
Well, the Buddha just said that our minds are actually directing a lot of that we are creating the cause to live with these kinds of circumstances. We in this country have created the cause, those of us in this room, to have really good conditions. We have free time. We meet teachings. We have an interest in a spiritual path. We have the resources to be able to spend some of our time this way. Whatever. We have pretty good conditions. That's good karma ripening. Many people on this planet don't have good conditions, good seeds ripening. Doesn't mean they won't in the future. It just means they don't have them now. That's all. And they're exhausting those negative seeds, just like we're exhausting our positive seeds. So we want to make sure we're using our time to create more. So like somebody who is extremely wealthy in this life, but is totally miserly, is not creating the cause to have all that wealth in the future. They must have been generous in previous lives for having all that. But if they didn't get some habits in their minds that say, there's some enjoyment to be had in being generous, it's not enough just to have enough. You want to share it, then you're not cultivating that habit, which happens a lot. That's the danger of good conditions, is that you can have enough good conditions to where you start to just not think about other people's situations. And you become kind of indifferent because it's not touching your life directly. That's not true, but that's what you think. So it's quite the thing. But like when you're enlightened, you don't reincarnate. You just never, you don't have to get into this kind of body that dies and rots and all that stuff. You just exist.
I just think that people want that, like they want heaven and hell. They want to know that what they do here
matters.
Good. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it does matter. It matters in terms of your experience. Yeah. Yeah. It does matter. This is why nihilism, that's why this idea that if something is empty, it means nothing is there. That is not correct. It's whatever we're creating the cause for. So, and all the things that enlightened beings create the cause for is bliss. They have an experience of bliss, nonstop bliss. Nothing in there says boring. Just bliss. It's not boring bliss. It's just bliss. Because there's nothing, they haven't created any cause for any kind of dissatisfaction. But because as we know, or trying to learn to know, that what we do, matters, they try to lead other people to get to that same place. Not because they suffer, not because they suffer from seeing the suffering, but because they know it can end. And so they're trying to help people learn how to end it. Well, I didn't expect my last teaching to be like this. This is a tough topic. Totally appropriate topic. Because just like John said, this idea of children's suffering is really difficult. And I can't, personally, this is just me, this little consciousness here, cannot accept that there be some being that is all powerful that would allow that. I just can't accept that. That doesn't mean it's not true. Just can't, that just doesn't work for me. I don't want to be part of that spiritual path. I don't want to have that kind of God, So, and I suspect the teachings don't actually teach that. I suspect that human beings have kind of distorted the teachings over time, as we do. It made it seem like, God can do that. Of course, we talk about free will, but if God could still do it, well, but using the free will example is sort of saying that it's, that it is in fact the result of human action that causes that. And it is. I mean, let's face it. This all started with a conversation about community and wanting to develop affection. Inevitably, we seem to end up in a place talking about judging. And we want to take that in. What does that say about how we think, our habits of thinking? That it's this, it's so hard to imagine. And maybe it's not even possible. This is a samsara. But this idea of billions of beings cooperating and existing in harmony. But apparently that's possible. And that's what liberation from samsara is. It's a state of harmony. Without any rough edges, without anybody being disappointed or, whatever. So apparently we're all capable of that. Everything with the mind has that capacity. We just have to learn how to get there, to remove the stuff that's polluting it with all of, with the, that kind of self-grasping, me first kind of mind. Which comes from that fear of losing this, And the Buddha just said, guess what? You're going to lose many of this. This is not very substantial. It falls apart and breaks, But don't worry, your consciousness keeps going. We're protecting the wrong thing. We need to protect our minds, not so much our bodies. But you need to take care of them because we need a healthy body to be able to have a healthy mind. But it's like the more important job is the mind. So.
So much emphasis on the body in our society.
Yeah.
It's hard to weed through it. That's what we're dealing with, right?
Well, because that also supports consumerism. You can't really buy things to go, okay, now I'm going to have affection for all sentient beings. So there's nothing to sell, So.
They certainly sell the idea of it too.
Yeah. Yeah. How many meditation apps does? Yeah. But the truth is, the Buddha would say we need enough apps for every single kind of mind. We shouldn't be surprised. It's that we all have different dispositions of mind. No one technique is going to get everybody there because of our different dispositions of mind. So rejoice in the abundance of help. but use discretion, not your pocketbook. So, that's a word that probably shouldn't exist anymore, right? Pocketbook.
Fanny pack. Check.
Fanny pack. We don't even need that anymore.
No.
You know, that little, we'll eventually just have a barcode. So that
So where
tap
will you be
thing,
teaching after, when you leave here?
nowhere,
This is it?
sort of. I got an email just last week from the center that's in where I'm going. Said, when are you coming? I'm supposedly the aspiration, it may not happen. The aspiration is to go and try to start a nuns community, to get some land and some things for the Western nuns to have a place to land, to call home, and a place to do retreat and practice together and learn together. And those were no longer well enough to serve at a center or something, so that they can develop their minds full time. So that's the hope.
So no more of this interaction.
Oh, there'll be teachers here.
But you're not gonna be doing anything online at all.
I
They never say never.
I'm never going to say never, because it never seems to work out. And I love teaching, so don't get me wrong. I mean, but I also need to develop my mind so that I don't get impatient with Roy when he, jumps in. I mean, we all have work to do. No, I don't get impatient with Linda and her questions. Cindy, do you have a question?
I was gonna ask, you said that one way we can stop this or stop this to get teachers.
That's so you can learn how.
Yes. Learn
Yep.
how. What are these communities helpful for teachers? Like, where do we find our teachers?
Well, hopefully they will appear. So Calden continues, and he'll be here. He'll be here in person at some point,
Mid-May.
Mid-May. But he'll be online in between there. Graziella's teaching on compassion on Wednesday nights, and it's a secular method that was developed at Emory University through the request of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to teach people how to develop compassion, because you can learn compassion. We've got the capacity for compassion, but we may not feel like we know how to make it stronger. And so this is an excellent program. So I highly encourage people to, it doesn't have any faith-based. You can, it doesn't matter what your spiritual beliefs are, because we can develop compassion. We have the capacity for that.
Is that only in person?
Yeah.
In person.
Both in, yeah. So those.
And also, Jack will be doing teachings on Sunday.
So Jack will be teaching on Buddhism in a nutshell, which will be a great, kind of overview kind of thing. So on Sundays, the meditations continue on Sunday mornings. Until May, Calden is teaching on online Tuesday nights. That will continue. And there's a class, there's a Death Cafe next Saturday.
There's a meditation day the week after that for a Saturday.
Yes, that's right. There's a practice day from the How to Meditate course on a Saturday. So definitely check our calendar out. So there's lots of things going on. I just get to keep my mouth shut for a while.
We've been talking about children today.
Yep.
And the good news is there's a lot of opinion that believes that the new generation is more endowed, has better empathy, and doing more community service, helping others.
Yeah. And I remember the Queen Mother was asked by His Holiness, I think, if she thought that the world, because she lived 100 years, over a whole century thing, and His Holiness asked her if she thought that the world was a better place today than in her youth. And she said, absolutely. Child's rights are now something that's recognized, all sorts of ways in which things have improved. So it's, so there you go.
The bad news usually makes headline, but the good news
is normal. His Holiness says the reason why good news isn't news is because it's the status quo. It's what actually is normal. It is the bad news that is, whoa. So that's what's reported by the news. But good news is something that happens all the time. And we need to see it so that can enrich us, nourish us, feel like, that human beings are not like just this disaster, because we're not just this disaster, we're all these things. So, what do you think?
And you'll be teaching tomorrow night. That'll be your last teaching.
Yeah, that'll be my actual last teaching, but yes, it's a little class.
What time is that? 6?
7. So, and I mean, I have volunteered to come every year for 3 months, but they may not need me. Or I may be too busy trying to develop a nuns community. There's a lot of work in that. I finished grout cleaning.
I was gonna ask how that went. Was it just the bathroom, or you had to
2 bathrooms. It's that little bitty tile.
Mhm.
Who thought that was a good idea?
Oh, you're talking like lots of grout. Oh no.
Mosaics. I know, I have the same.
Yes. I mean, I don't want it to go to landfill, so I'm happy to clean it. I'm tired of landfill, so I'm happy to just keep using. And it's perfectly good. It's just, I'm not the best housekeeper, apparently. It wasn't sealed. I'm going to blame it on the ground. Anyway, so
Where was this?
my condo,
You have to clean it up before you leave.
before I sell it, which is hopeless.
Oh, you're selling.
Yeah, I've been here 10 years, so, it's a cheaper way to live. So, but it's not going to work out. Nothing is selling. There've been 5 condos in my building for sale for quite a long time. So I'll probably be back in the fall. That's not the plan. We're aspiring to something else. So anyway.
Karma with you is too strong, Venerable Tendron.
I think there's some truth to that. So, because I hate Florida. I think it's hilarious that I've been here 10 years.
Fine.
I came here, I promised a year. So, but I do like to teach. So I just don't like heat. So, but the whole world's warming, so you can't escape it. I'm not going to take the blame for that solely. It's not just my fault. So anyway. All right, so let's say some prayers. All right. So are we going to do the traditional thing, or are we going to abandon? Is that abandoned?
Anthony knows better.
I'm sorry. What was that question, Venerable Tendron? The traditional.
Are we going to do the traditional thing, or can we just close on a normal prayer day?
Oh, well, we could. Yes. Okay. So the traditional thing. Yes. So Venerable Tendron, you played a tremendous role in my own spiritual journey, and I'm sure many people at the center today can attest and feel the same way. And while we're always happy to have you come back, and we're maybe overly attached to you, we also are rejoicing in the fact that you get to work on your own practice, as long as you don't stay too busy at Kadampa Center. But thank you very much. And I wanted to be there in person, but I underestimate how much attention little Noah needs. So please.
And none of us are surprised by that.
So please accept this virtual kata instead, and we'll see you soon. And appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Anthony. Yes, it's been my pleasure. Yep.
I have an announcement.
Okay, and we have prayers too. Yeah.
Being that this is Venerable Tendron's last teaching, we're taking her to lunch at
we are.
Casamaya downstairs. And everybody's welcome. If you plan to attend, let me know so we know how many reservations to make.
Just so we can go grab a table.
It's not gonna be
Right after, right after the teaching.
So I'm also going to Tijuana Taxi tomorrow for lunch, and I think I have something else the next day.
Mexican.
Yeah, because I happen to like Mexican food, and also because it's easy to get vegetarian food. So yeah.
Do you ever eat Chinese food?
Yeah, I eat Chinese food. It's just I don't know of one here. So that's just the way. I don't like Indian food. I'm really weird that way. So, but that's also because you can't get anything without onions or garlic, and I don't eat those. Anyway, so I'm just digressing. So let's do our prayers before we digress too far. But please join us for lunch. Time for more questions. What am I doing? I'm sharing. And I will go through withdrawal. It will be very hard to not see you. That's not what we need. That's the wrong prayer. This is it. So now we're taking all the positive seeds we planted today, even that just slightly positive thoughts every now and then, and we're dedicating the positive results to benefit others. May all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my yes. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid of a little, with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the helpless find help, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as faith remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the mysteries of the world. And I just have to say, one thing that about this idea of karma and the fact that, we created the cause for our own suffering is we also create the cause for help. So we never want to have that mind that goes, oh, well, they're exhausting some negative karma, so I won't help. That would be terribly wrong view, So if you can help someone ease their suffering, please do. Just because, and it's like, like if you happen to be born in a time where eyeglasses were made and you're losing your sight, that's just also part of your good karma writing. So you have the karma for your eyes to give up, but you also have the karma to have eyeglasses. So it works like that. So it's very vast. So never thinking something like, oh, they're just getting what they deserve.
Yeah.
That's a mind you don't want to practice at all.
I guess there's also nothing saying that karma has to happen in just one direction. Like, oh, this is negative. Like, good and bad could both be spread.
No, karma's definite. So if you do a negative action, it's a result in a negative experience. There's no in between. But you can use that to generate a positive action in that moment.
I was just thinking of somebody who is suffering and receiving help. It's like both.
Well, they're both there. They're two different types of karmic seeds, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not
That's
the same.
what I meant. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry to digress. Let's wish for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you were the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche.
Still missing?
Huh?
He's still missing?
Well, they think they found him, but he has not been recognized yet.
Oh.
I think it's a child in Nepal, but that's just a word.
Right.
Don't hold on to that. Fearless teacher and assembly of the children, victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang Father and Sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge in infinite lands. Please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience and never discouraged. Incomparable venerable gurus, to you I make request. While striving single pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teaching, the soul gave in through which all benefit and happiness emerge. And from mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory proportionately sight us.
Thank you, Venerable Tendron.
Thank you. Thank you at home. So,
Thank you so much.
John and Esther and Brian.
Thank you,
and
Venerable
Gina and Arpita. Thank you.
Thank you, Tendron.
Thank you so
Back
much,
at ya.
Venerable.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
See you
Thanks,
soon,
Steve.
hopefully.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Nana, and your family.
See
Y'all
you
have a
soon.
wonderful. Yes, I'm sure you will. So take good care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.